Good.
Okay.
All right, guys. First off, I want to thank you guys for coming through. This is our first ever artist talk hosted by Burgundy XYZ under a city establishment. So, first off, I want to thank you for that.
Of course.
We are here with Jed-Lee, fellow Haitian, fellow brother.
Thank you.
We're all doing this here in light of him, celebrating him, understanding him, all his work. That's pretty much my intro for the guy. We here.
And I just want to say thank you all so much for coming. Honestly, it feels like every single moment of my life has been leading up to this moment. And I just continue to pray that I can give it all the honor and respect that it deserves. So thank you all for being here with me. Seriously.
Clap it up for Jed-Lee, you know what I'm saying? And then honestly, we'll just get right into it. I don't think there's any further delays.
Absolutely not.
Okay, so my first question for you is, you describe yourself as a colorblind expressionist. What does that mean to you beyond the literal definition?
Oh, wow, what a great question. So, there's no instruction manual to being an artist. I mean, you can go to art school and it will set you up pretty well, but I'm completely self-taught. I started making artwork just out of a need to express myself however and whenever I needed to. And going forward, I decided that I had to, try to teach myself something. And I learned about art movements, and I found out about the abstract expressionist movement. I'm very much intuitive, just like they are, right? How they decide to use colors and shapes and symbols to express what they need in reaction to the world around them. And colorblind, I just have to talk about the literalness of my colorblindness. So I found out that I'm red-green colorblind. So Christmas is kind of rough because everything looks the same, right? But that didn't stop me from wanting to explore color. So it influences how I approach color. The way that my color blindness works, it's not that I see everything in black and white, but it doesn't help. It makes it very difficult for me to differentiate hues, right? So when it comes to making gradients in acrylic paint, it makes me want to rip my hair out, which is why I started using spray paint. But the thing is, it's incredibly easy for me to confuse one color with another, right? It's almost impossible for me to recreate a color that doesn't come straight out of the tube, right? So with that, I still am screw it, I still want to work with vibrant colors. So what I do is I put these colors in as many different contexts as possible, right? Because I realize the more that I do that, the more that I challenge my eyes and the easier it is for me to identify color in my day-to-day. Somehow, I'm much less colorblind than how I started. I can see stop signs pretty well now. But I found a fascination with the context of color. If you can see it within my work. I can have a white line in one space and it influences the area differently than if I put it in the darker space. Same thing with the oranges, same thing with the pinks. So with me navigating and experimenting, it's really helped me be able to find a visual style and be able to identify color better.
And do you feel like it is kind of a superpower rather than a crutch?
I had to look at it like that, because you guys see my works differently than I ever can. You guys like it. So it can't be a crutch. It can't be a weakness because somehow, some way, the way that the cones in my retinas are, it's working on a way that's stimulating for you guys. And I find a lot of peace in that. Yeah.
That's fire. Your work feels both intentional and spontaneous. Mm-hmm. When you start a piece, are you following a plan or chasing a feeling?
Oh, what a great question. So I feel like it's a bit of both. There's always going to be a level of planning within my work, but it's very minimal. The circles that you guys see in my work is the most that I'll ever commit to like anything within my paintings, and I allow everything else to be intuitive. So the way that I approach my paintings, every time I come into the studio, I pray. And through that prayer, I ask that I'm able to identify what I'm feeling and navigate it through the piece. These pieces are more like journal entries than they are me being like, oh, I'm gonna make some art today. It's more of me wanting to navigate my mind and my emotions, whether it be something that happened today or something that happened years ago, right? So as I'm feeling all of these complex emotions and I'm doing my line work and I'm making these gradients, I'm allowing myself to intuitively feel. Like if I had started to paint an hour later, the piece may look completely different. But because I had an anxiety issue, I had to do things that make me stay in the present. And I was able to do that through my work.
I like that. So that response actually sets you up for the next question.
Yeah.
And that question is, there's a strong sense of rhythm and movement. Is it music that inspires, or it could be your environment, or like anything that's going on, or is it something else entirely?
Well, when I first started painting, it was definitely music that helped me get through my sessions. But when it comes to the rhythm, I'm really interested in the rhythms that we go through in our lives, right? Like
day to day.
Exactly, or week to week, or month to month, or year to year. We all are going through cycles, right? We are all spiraling inwardly or outwardly. And I found it to be very comforting once I realized that. So that's why every single mark and line you see will have a spiral on it. And each of them influences the shape of the next, right? Just like how in our everyday lives, like our choices influence the shape of the next. Our day influences the shape of the next. Our reaction to things influences the shape of the next. So when I go back to the present moment, I'm much more mindful, because I know that it's not just the present moment at stake, but it's the future. So with every single line, I'm using it to contour my next choice.
Okay. In between the contouring and trying to get a feel and understanding of what everything is, are there times where you have to pivot completely? Maybe they start over, or like just go a different direction in the piece that you're working on?
That's hilarious. So sometimes I get so frustrated that I just decide I'm not working on this piece for like a month. Like I'm gonna just let you sit there in the corner, and then it just stares at me, taunting me until I have the courage to approach it again. But I try to not force myself to work on anything. I allow things to come. Like the piece behind you all, The Wilderness, right? That piece has been taunting me for months. My studio neighbor, Mikhail, can tell you. There was a time where it just stood at like 30% completion, and I couldn't go back into working on it until I felt like I was in the right emotional state to engage with that specific piece. Other times, I make a mistake on my painting, and I want to explode, right? But we also make mistakes in life that we can't take back, that will leave their mark on the painting or the story that is our lives. How do you respond to it? Do you allow it to completely demoralize you? Or do you decide, what can I do with this? How can this influence my decision making? How can I turn this choice into something that's intentional and adds to the beauty of who you are? Like almost every single one of my paintings have a mistake in it. You wouldn't be able to tell. I'm the one who made it. But at the same time, we can still appreciate the beauty of it. Just like all of you have made awful mistakes in your life, I'm pretty sure. I can't tell. I still think you're beautiful. What is the point of feeling regret? What is the point of us beating ourselves up for quote unquote failing, when failing is just the opportunity to try again more intelligently?
Yep. Failing is just a concept.
It is.
So
Thank you.
I want to ask one more, going off to that question.
Yeah.
Do you feel like those time gaps are necessary in between working on paintings to kind of like refocus, recalibrate, you know what I'm saying, get back in the groove of things?
100%. I think one thing that I've been talking to my therapist about is just like my desire for having more time You know, because patience is a virtue, and you guys can probably tell that I have to be very patient when it comes to making these pieces. I cannot rush this. And if I'm not in the right state of mind, or if I'm forcing it, if I'm rushing it, I will make one mark and immediately feel like a liar, and I have to stop because this isn't contributing to the truth of what I'm trying to do here, right? So when I stop and I reframe myself, I start to remember who I really am. And that's the importance of patience.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes we feel rushed. We have this sense of urgency that turns into anxiety that makes our decision making sloppy. And we can't give into that. Despite how pressing our day-to-day lives are, all we really need is more time. And when you can't make more time, you have to slow yourself down, right? Like in the space of heightened anxiety, you feel like everything's coming at you at once. You feel like all the seconds are rushing past you. You feel like time is slipping through your fingers. But that's just your mind fighting against you. Mm-hmm. But you are not your mind. You are not your thoughts, okay? And you're the one who's in control here. So
at all times,
you have to stop, breathe, remember who you are, remember all the great things you are, even if your mind isn't being very kind to yourself, and go from there. And that's what I try to do with my work. I try to give people that space to be patient with themselves, to just take a sigh of relief, to just sit and just
soak it in.
Exactly, just soak it in. Just be present, just be here with yourself, and let that be enough for the moment.
I like that, it's a really good one.
Thank you.
How do you approach color and composition in a way that feels authentic to you? Especially knowing your relationship with color.
I wish I had a deeper answer than I just go with the flow.
As deep as it gets, right?
You feel me? Okay, because as artists, we are simply expressing our truth constantly. We have to remain authentic to ourselves, but we also have to acknowledge the fact that we are growing and changing and developing. And in that same sense, I have to continue to challenge myself, right? I only found out about composition when somebody told me what that word meant. It just sounded like a fancy art word to me, right? And once I found out about that concept, I started to lean into it more. I still am just working intuitively, but with everything that I'm meditating on from piece to piece, the composition starts to fall in line with it. Like this piece over here, the pink one, I call it Sonder, right? And Sonder, first of all, before I even say anything, y'all feel what it feels to you. Because I'm very big on allowing my viewers to let the painting be their truth first before I start to influence what they feel about it, right? It's a conversation here. We don't impose ourselves on each other, right? And then after that, then we begin the conversation. Because for me, this is probably the most circles I've had in a single piece. And for me, this piece is about acknowledging the intricacy between all of us. We are all people with very rich and deep backstories. The person next to you is as complex and nuanced as you are. And we have to acknowledge and respect that, but also feel comforted by that, because the circumstances that we're going through they're not as unique to us as we may feel. We're all going through the same thing, but in completely different fonts, in completely different ways. And if we decided to open up to each other, we would realize that we're not alone in this.
There'd be a lot of similarities, yeah.
There's a lot of similarities. Mm-hmm. So me grappling with that concept, finding peace within it, really helped me feel more open to others. And I really needed that in that time period that I was in, you know?
So do you feel like that's a grounding feeling, being able to connect with people who interpret your art a different way than you do?
Yes. Because some of the best conversations I've had have been in front of pieces of work. And it's a blessing for me to be able to make an environment like that myself. So when I'm in this space and someone sees something within my work that I didn't see or I didn't intend, and they interpret it a different way, it can make me enjoy my own work even more, right? Because again, I'm just going about this intuitively. Like I'm just feeling how I feel and making marks that align with that. But that's the beautiful thing about being perceived by others. There's many things about ourselves that we simply can't see. Like, I don't got a third person. Like, I can only see myself when I'm in a mirror, right? And I just simply am myself. But when people share their perceptions of
It's a whole new outlook.
it's a whole new outlook, and it's very grounding to know, like, hey, I may feel some way about myself right now, but I remember what my friend said about me. And like, bro, a simple compliment can go very far to just give somebody some temporary peace, you know? So yeah.
That's a good one, bro. You're active in Slow Flow's art community, very active. And you teach as well.
Yes.
Let's not forget that. You know what I'm saying? You are a teacher as well as an artist. How does pouring into others help influence your creative evolution?
That's beautiful. I actually just spoke on this. So there was a time in my early career where I hit a space of turmoil. I was very worried because I was acknowledging my gifts, I was acknowledging my talent, but I was also very immature. And in my quest for meaning, I allowed my ego to take control and became very ugly. And I was afraid of that happening again. And I found myself in a point where I'm wondering to myself, how do I fully embrace all the great things about myself? How do I have true like pride in myself without allowing my ego to consume me, to take control? And a close friend of mine told me, the way you can avoid that is by pouring into others, knowing that it's so much bigger than you. Because if you're bettering yourself for other people's sake, you can't be self-absorbed. Like, it's the complete antithesis of that. And at this point in my life, like, I just view myself as a vessel for the gift. I don't see this gift being as my own, but I see it as a gift of God poured onto me for me to pour onto others. That is what gives me peace. That's what keeps me grounded. And it's such a satisfying feeling knowing that I can make something, or I can say something, or I can teach someone something that could help them in their walk going forward. And I try to be the person that I would need around me when I was at the height of my sadness, at the height of my depression. And in the context of me teaching at my church, like, I remember what it was like to be one of those little kids, like in Sunday school, not knowing what's going on in the world around me, and my parents just make me go to church, and I don't know if I'm really feeling this, but I got a whole bunch of complex emotions in my child brain. What do I do about it? I make them feel seen. I make them feel understood. I have patience with them. I give them the same treatment that I needed. And when you are the change that you want to see in the world, you move it in the right direction. Because let's be honest, guys, like, the world is going in a direction that we ain't really feeling right now. Okay? And the thing is that it's so far out of our control that thinking about it, talking about it, only heightens our sense of anxiety. But what is in our scope of control? What we can touch, what can we touch and influence right now? And that is each other. We are here to spread light, be a light, spread love, make each other feel seen, heard, and understood. These are primal things that we desire that cost nothing to give to each other. It's free in a world that is so expensive. So why not give each other that gift? A gift is only a gift if you share it, right? Again, our circumstances are not as unique as we think. So why don't we help make the world a better place for each other, you know? Yeah.
With all that being said, great response, by the way.
Thank you.
Do you feel like ego deaths are necessary to creating freely?
Whoa. So for the people that don't know, can you define ego death?
Ego death, I would say, in the best definition to me, is kind of like letting yourself go when it comes to your own pretentious, kind of like, I'm gonna say strangulation for lack of better terms, but like whatever's holding you back and you feel like it's not this, it's not that. You know, being open to receiving something new, having a new outlook on something. That's kind of like,
it's like letting go of control of your way of thinking.
Letting go of the way you think, exactly. Yes.
I feel like we have to change as people. Like, I feel like we have to be malleable. Before I went back to my faith in Christianity, I was just searching for meaning anywhere, and I found Taoism, which helped me come with the concept with UZUMAKI. And they have this idea of being like water, and it's like allowing life and its experiences to flow over you as water flows over a rock, right? And it's like embracing that we are more like passive participants in this world. Like sometimes we're active, yeah, but in the grand scheme of things, it's very passive. And in the grand scheme of things, like there are things that are gonna fundamentally prove our way of thinking wrong. Can you accept that? Or will you cling to your limited perception of how you see things?
Exactly.
Like a wise man knows that they know nothing, right? Like I'm not an idiot, but there's plenty of things I don't know. And I have to accept that. I have to embrace that. I have to cope with that, because if I cannot accept that I am wrong, if I cannot accept that I don't see the whole scope of things, then I'm just gonna be, like, even if I'm alive, I'm pretty much dead, because I've stayed the same person for months, years.
Yeah.
And I'm watching everything in life pass me by, everything around me grow. But because I've been clinging so long to who I was in my former way of flawed thinking, until I can let go of that, I'm dead.
I like that.
Thank you.
I feel like having an open mind is kind of like a great key to have on your keychain when it comes to being a creative. Yeah, you're just more open to.
Yeah. So how that relates to me painting, again, there's so much stuff I don't know. I'm a self-taught artist. I started creating because I felt like I needed to. So when I have really nice professionals who are willing to give me feedback on my work and are willing to invest in me or just have a conversation with me, give me the time of day, it reinvigorates me, because I'm content at the fact that there's plenty of stuff that I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna let my pride stop me from gaining insight or gaining support. It does not serve me in the slightest. So yes, like I'm always willing to accept that type of feedback and allow myself to be reborn in a way. Like Bonnie Clearwater, freaking love Bonnie Clearwater, right? Yeah. I had a meeting with her and I showed her my work up until that point. And at that point, Genesis was my newest and favorite, and the apple of my eye. I still love this painting so much. But I was showing her this work and she brought things to my attention that I didn't realize I was doing. She spoke about my use of texture and if I was being intentional with it. And the thing is, I wasn't. I was just going with the flow. But with me learning about the concept of texture and depth and how things can be flat and opaque, or, you know, more versatile in its presentation, I'm like, oh snap, I didn't know this. And that led to works like Faith, that led to works like Play, that led to works like Wilderness, that led to this work. Because I had to realize that there was a whole dimension that I wasn't engaging with because I simply didn't know. It's not a bad thing to be ignorant, because ignorance is just not knowing something. Mm-hmm. It's a bad thing to remain ignorant when you are presented with new information. Yes. So yeah, shout out to Ego Deaths.
I like that.
Yeah.
That was fire. Was there a moment, you know, at any point that made you realize painting wasn't just a hobby, that it was something more, something to build your life around?
Well, let me drink my water. You know, you guys are gonna call me crazy, but this dawned upon me like a week before the show. That I could actually build my life around art, because first and foremost, like the art has to be for us, like as artists. This is our truth, our expression, before the money comes in, before any of the popularity comes in, before the galleries and all that. This is for us, and it needs to remain for us. Exactly. First and foremost, right?
Exactly.
Secondly, it's for the viewer that just appreciate it for what it is. But because of the feedback that you all have gave me and hammering in my head, hey Jed, you actually have a talent, when I kind of denied myself acknowledging that out of fear of my own pride, I realized that I could really do something here. I could change the world, or at least the world that I have access to, right, within my sphere of influence. But with these patterns and me exploring and putting them on different materials that aren't canvases and seeing how strongly you all react to them, like I realized like, yo, like I could make a living out of this. And we're all striving to have a life where we're being paid to do what we love. That is the dream, right? And I was scared to acknowledge that I might have enough skill and talent to be able to do that. So like this feeling is very fresh to me. Like I'm still engaging with that. And thanks to the grant that I got from Broward County for the Artist Support Grant, the Cultural Division, shout out you guys.
Congratulations again.
I love you, thank you. They're not that, I'm pointing at the camera, yo. Thank you, I appreciate it, yeah. Thanks to you guys, I actually have the resources to be able to do that. Like, it's not every day where like money just falls into your lap. And I was so excited to throw this art talk. I was about to like throw all my money to this, and one of my friends like, yo, pump the brakes, make this money work for you, right? Because like my excuse for not being able to make merchandise and prints and all this is like, I don't have the money. That's not the issue anymore. Now it's my ability to execute. So like with me having this type of opportunity, it's like, what do you do with this? You need to plant seeds. Like, yes, this environment, this gallery, this is a harvest, but each fruit that you harvest has seeds in them. So it's like, you can't just eat everything and then not think of the future. So like I'm laying down the foundation, and it requires me to be a much more organized and disciplined person than I have been thus far, but I must live up to the challenge. I must. So yeah, I'm still engaging with it. I'm still figuring things out. I'm still building my relationship with the fact that this could be a full-time career. And I pray that you all pray for me so that I can handle that properly. Yeah.
I like that. It's really good, bro.
Thank you.
So this piece right here, Purity, one of my favorite pieces in the whole show. Mm-hmm. You just renamed it. I want you to tell them the name and kind of explain why you renamed it.
Okay. So fun fact, guys, 3 of these pieces I finished the night of the show. Better yet, the morning of the show. I was here till 6 a.m., y'all. I need to work on my time management skills, to say the least, right? So with those 3 pieces, I kind of felt rushed to name them, and I'm still building my relationship with them as a result. Usually I get to just work on one piece for a month and then let that be my brainchild, and I know like all my thoughts are focused on that. I couldn't do that with these, right? So I wanted to call this one Transfiguration. I'm like, out of all the pieces I renamed, this is the one that I'm still engaging with the most. I'm still having a conversation with it. But Transfiguration, there's a lot of Bible references in my work, y'all. But is the idea that we're undergoing like a spiritual dramatic change, right? Another name I had it was renewal. I just want to capture the feeling of fundamentally shifting into something more divine, something more enlightened, something more intentional and pure. And it's something that we're going through on a daily basis. But we have to be intentional in that. We have to, like, I have a therapist now again. I took like a 2-year, 3-year break from therapy because the insurance industry is garbage, but I finally have a good therapist. And we have just been talking about how I use my time, how I live in the present moment. But when these temptations come, these are the trials in which I can either remain who I am or I can become something new. And once we decide to engage with these challenges we have in our lives, we realize that these are the moments in which we bring that change. Either you stay as you are, or you change. You act like the person that you want to be.
Epi, that's it.
Epi, that's it.
Epi, that's it.
Yeah.
Epi, that's it. I like that.
This is the most coherently I've been able to talk about this piece, like, in my entire life.
I just wanted y'all to hear it, because we came through, we did an Untapped video of him breaking down the process of all his work, and that really stuck with me. So I just had to make sure y'all heard it as well.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
For my next question, For artists who feel limited and who feel limited by circumstances, what would you tell them about turning these obstacles into like a signature strength?
That's a nice question. We're always gonna have limitation in life. There will always be a lack. Do we allow this lack to dominate us? Do we allow this lack to define us? Or do we allow it to contribute to that story of triumph that is being written in our lives, right? Like when I was young, I used to love underdog characters because like the odds are stacked against them and no one really expects anything from them. But when they triumph, it is the most hype thing ever. And like nobody likes a protagonist that doesn't go through anything, right? Like that's a very boring story, someone that already has everything handed to them. But those people that go out despite their circumstances and take it for themselves are the people that we can really get behind. Because who are you to tell me that I can't? Who is life to tell me that I can't? I'm gonna do what the heck I want.
Facts.
Like, we have to liberate ourselves. And I understand there are some circumstances that absolutely dominate us, but we have time. Like, we're still alive. Anything can change about our lives. Sometimes the change is dramatic, but most likely the change is gradual. And it takes being present. It takes being present in those moments where these challenges come and it's like, how am I gonna engage with this? Because like, when I lost my dad, I was so depressed. I lost all meaning in my life and I could have allowed that feeling to consume me. And in certain moments it did. But I needed to be happy again. Like sometimes we don't go for things until we absolutely need them. Like I could have wanted to be happy, like I needed to, or else I would have withered away. And I didn't know what that would look like. I didn't know what my happiness would look like. I didn't know what the end goal would look like. But I knew that I had a direction that I needed to go in. I had faith that it would work out even if I didn't know how it would work out. And that is what I poured into that painting, Faith, the brown one right there. Because like realistically, like sometimes life is just so rough, like we don't know what's even right in front of our own two hands, but there's a peace in knowing that there's a very distant light at the end of the tunnel. You don't know how far it is, you don't know how long it's gonna take to get there.
But it's there.
But it's there,
yeah.
And I'm gonna get there if it's the last thing I do. So that's what I'd say to you all. Like, don't let it dominate you. Don't give in, follow that light, and keep walking towards it, because before you'll know it, you'll get there. Like it's almost been 6 years since I lost my dad, and I found a way to be happy again. Mm-hmm. I found a way to have real joy, and I ran away from my church, and now like I'm overly committed to serving in it, you know? So just keep going day by day. Just try to change, try to gradually become what it is you need. Yeah.
I got a 2-part question to that.
Okay, fire.
Your father, you
Yes.
said you lost him a while ago. How does he show up in your work? You know, is there something specific that you kind of like aim towards that, or is it something that kind of like just happens naturally? What do you think? You know, how does he show up?
That's a good question. I mean, he was the biggest spiritual influence in my life. Like he would I was too young to understand or fully appreciate the type of man he was. So my father was a pastor. He grew up in Haiti. He lost his dad at a very young age, right? And he had to be raised by these 2 women that lived in a mountain in Haiti. And they were busy working because it's rough over there. They can't stop working. But he got the opportunity to go down that mountain every Sunday, learn, and go back up and teach those ladies what he wanted, what he learned, you know? And he decided like, yo, I would love to be a pastor. He didn't say it like that. He's a very proper man. So he started to be the person that he wanted to be. And he started to, you know, gain popularity in Haiti, just being a pastor, doing his thing, living his life, doing the dream. He came to America, was a phenomenal accountant or businessman, something suitcasey, I don't know.
Yeah.
And with the help of his friends, he bought an abandoned bank. Well, it wasn't abandoned, it closed down. It was probably a Bank of America. It's on West Broad Boulevard. They bought it and they decided this will be our church.
Yeah.
And they renovated it into one of the most popular Haitian churches of like the 2000s and the 2010s, like in Broward County. Like I would be out like with my dad. He always is taking a phone call because people really need his spiritual support.
Yeah.
We would go out to Walmart and I guarantee you every Haitian knew him. And I'm like, can we please not stop and have a conversation with everyone that we see? And you know, like it frustrated me because it's like everyone really needed him and he was there for everyone. And I just wanted him here with me. He was always in pastor mode. I just need you to be in dad mode real quick, you know? But it's like he couldn't. It's what everyone needed from him. So when he passed away, like I was very resentful at the fact that like I felt like I didn't get enough time. It felt like everybody took his time away from me and my mom. And I was so frustrated. I was mad at God even because I prayed for you to heal him up. He's the guy who deserves a miracle. He's the guy who has been everything a pastor should be to a self-sacrificial extent. And my prayer didn't get answered. And it hurt. And I was angry. And I strayed away from God. I didn't want to pray. I didn't want to talk to nobody from the church. There's a whole bunch of drama going on. The church almost like completely lost all of its members. And my mom, she tried. She kept going. She tried as hard as it was for her because that building was like a extension of him. Like you would go there and like people to this day still can't stomach going because they feel like he's gonna walk out at any moment. Like it just felt so natural for him to be there. And it's like I was so angry. And anytime I would drop my mom off to church or anybody from church would see me, they'd be so happy to see me. And I'm like, what's wrong with y'all? Leave me alone. I don't want nothing to do with you guys. But they would always tell me, Max, I've been praying for you. Oh, they call me Max, by the way. Haitians, we like to go by our middle names in Haitian spaces. So at church, I'm Max. Here, I'm Jed-Lee. Please don't call me Max. That would make me feel so weird. It would be so weird for you to do that. But they would tell me that they had been praying for me. Because in that era of time where I was straying from God and I was given into my depression, I was living very recklessly, self-destructively, and there was really no hope. I couldn't really see that light at the end of the tunnel. But I would end up okay. It's like I would throw myself off a flight of stairs and end up on my feet. I'm like, oh, I must be so lucky. I'm not lucky. I'm blessed. People have been praying for me. And that's why I'm okay. Because through what my dad did, he left so much love on this earth that it's tangible. Like it outlived him. And I realized the reason he spent so much time with these people is because he was doing what he loved. He made his dream come true. And that takes a lot of time. That takes a lot of effort. That takes a lot of time management. And he did the best that he could. But he left fruit behind. There is a physical building that is the legacy of his love and his effort and his dream. And the idea that the love that you have for others, the passion that you have can outlive you on this earth has given me a lot of solace. And it's what I want to do through my art. It's what I want to do through the conversations I have with people. Cause like people still look at him and they see me, they look at me and see him. And he showed me that I can make my dream come true if I work hard enough, and that it will outlive me. Because you only die truly when everyone has forgotten you. And I tell you, no one will ever forget that man. And I wish he was here, but I also acknowledge that even in the midst of this pain, God has still been good to me. And that there's a plan that I can't see the full extent of, but I may have never started painting if he was still here. I may have never started to serve and help the young people of my church if he was still here. He would have asked me to, I'd have been like, heck no, I don't want to do that. But I found these things on my own accord as a reaction to this pain that I felt. And I found a lot of peace knowing that like he made it to heaven. Like he's good. Like he doesn't have to worry about no bills, like the politics, nothing, bro. Like he's good. Like he's chilling. And we're still here and we still have work to do, but his job is done. And
he did all he could.
He did all he could. And one day I'm gonna see him again.
Hell yeah.
Heck.
Hell yeah. So I feel like, oh, I got another one. Do you still resonate art as a form of coping? Like, is it still a coping mechanism for you?
Mm-hmm.
And how has that been healing over the years?
You know, coping mechanism has like this air to it where
it's
like
very loose.
It's very loose, but it's like it also sounds like you're hanging on by a thread and this is the only thing like like holding you down, you know what I mean? So I think I'm gonna start calling it a healthy habit.
Healthy habit, I like that as well.
You feel me?
Yeah.
Because
we're declaring that right now.
We're declaring that because
Healthy habits.
Coping mechanism sounds like you're addicted to like cocaine and you need something else to replace it.
Something stronger.
And that's not where I'm at right now. But I definitely see it like when I approach these works, I see them as more of journal entries, right? But it's like I'm not using words, I'm using colors and I'm using my symbols.
I like that.
And I can't, like my brain works in a very abstract way, which benefits me in the creative space, not very much organizing wise. But I get to feel everything that I need to feel. Cause like at the height of my sadness, like what brought me to painting was the fact that I needed somewhere to feel and think everything in a place that is always appropriate. Cause no one likes a trauma dumper, okay? Like I don't always have the capacity to take the brunt of all of someone's sorrow. So it's like, why would I do that to someone else?
Yeah.
Of course I have friends that I can trust to talk about certain things, but that's why we have licensed professionals that are trained to deal with these types of things, right? But you can probably talk to your therapist if you have one once a week. What do you do in that meantime? How do we grapple with our feelings in the meantime? So I was blessed to find a creative outlet, and I hope that everybody else can find an outlet for their emotions, because if not, we're gonna have emotional congestion. It's just all gonna build up in our chest, in our psyche, and then our frustrations will become part of our subconscious. We'll turn into our personalities. Then we'll turn into people that don't know that they're the problem and can never accept the fact that they're the problem because it's just how I am. Y'all gonna have to deal with it. I'm not trying to be that type of person. And I know y'all not trying to be that type of people, which is why we need outlets. And I think anybody can be a creative. I think anybody can have a creative outlet. There's no right or wrong way to create. There's no right or wrong way to express yourself in the context of art. But it takes that permission first. Like, are you going to say, yes, I am allowed to do this? Or are you going to like paint like 3 lines or make one drawing, like, this is trash, I'm never doing this again? And I was there at one point. In my first painting, I had to like walk away from it from weeks at a time because I had such little technique that I would do whatever I had the capacity to do at that time and just be so frustrated. I'm like, I don't want to look at you. Leave me alone. Don't go over there. And I would come back to it when I had the patience for it. And that's like with any skill that you pick up. At first you're gonna suck, okay? And you gotta be okay with sucking for a little bit. Like even the most talented professionals sucked at one point. That is okay. Are you going to allow that to define you, or are you gonna get back on that horse and be like, nah, I am gonna figure this out? That's what I did. And I still have so much to learn, but I accept myself and my shortcomings because I know that they don't define me. What defines me is how I respond to these shortcomings. So that's my answer. I forgot the question.
The second part is how has that all been healing for you over the years?
Oh yes. I have a space where I'm always allowed to feel whatever I feel, whether it's reasonable or delusional. And the cool thing about having a good relationship with yourself, when you're like actually nuts, like you don't embarrass yourself by sharing that with others. Let me not say that, that's not very productive. Being able to quell your own delusion is important. Being able to grapple with your own emotions is important. Like being able to sit in your head and have a dialogue with yourself where you can come to a conclusion where like, okay, here's what was in my control, here's what was not in my control, and having grace and forgiveness for yourself. I struggle with giving myself grace because I hold myself to this insane standard, which is probably a trauma response, of perfection. And I'm gonna fall short of that because the only person who was able to do that was Jesus, and he was here like 2,000 years ago, right? Wasn't nobody who was able to do that before him or since then. So how do I respond to that imperfection? I accept it. And I know that I'm trying my best, and that is good enough. You are trying your best. That is okay. It's good enough. Like, chill, please. You'll be okay. I know that you may not have all the answers right now, but it will come to you if you're patient, and if you give yourself the space to be patient, and you slow yourself down. And I've gotten a chance to slow myself down, and I've gotten a chance to be present with myself through painting. And I'm very grateful at the fact that God has given me this gift, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk about it so everybody else can understand that they can have access to that same gift. Yeah.
Like that. I got one more before we open the floor to Q&A.
Yeah.
What do you feel like your favorite process is of the whole thing? Like the whole process you go through making a painting, you know, figuring out what it is you want to paint. Or I should say, what is your favorite part of that whole process? If there's a favor.
It's very hard to say. I'm gonna give two answers. One of my favorite parts of the process is the conversation that happens after, right? The fact that we can both look at the same exact thing and feel two completely different things, but somehow, some way they align with each other. And when we share that through conversation, we can open ourselves up to new perceptions of life, because it's beyond art at this point. It's about connecting. And these paintings are kind of like a mirror, right? They're like Rorschach images. We can look at the same blob of ink and see two completely different things, and it reveals a lot about us. So when I get to have a conversation with someone through the piece, even though these are just colors and lines, and the way I speak about it, it starts to paint that picture in your heads. And that's very cool. But sometimes someone shares something with me about my painting that I didn't intend, that I didn't see, because I was creating from an intuitive sense.
Yeah.
And they made me appreciate my own stuff more. So I love that part. The second part I love is just refusing to be colorblind and just experimenting. Like, oh my gosh, like sometimes I'll just find this color palette where I'll realize something about like the medium that I'm using, whether it be like what I'm painting on or what I'm painting with. Like I was working with Symphony on a piece, and I found this technique with the spray paint where I could be more intuitive with the drippiness, and I was just making like a lot of noise, very satisfied noise, just with like how there's just like an itch in my brain whenever I find something stimulating, whether it be color or texture, that it's just very primal. So those are my two favorite things about the process.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So let's clap it up for Jed-Lee real quick. Amazing answers. Amazing answers. Very insightful. We are gonna open the floor to Q&A. So if y'all have any questions, just raise your hands. Jed-Lee will pick from you guys.
Mikael, some accent. Sorry.
How do you know when a piece is done?
How do I know when a piece is done?
It's like you could continue to keep on forever. Like theoretically, you can keep painting over it, just keep going until you feel like it's done. Like what makes you know that it's done?
So when I first started painting, it was when I had filled up all the space that weren't the negative spaces, that weren't the circles, right? But as I started to be more intentional with my work, it became more of, do I have anything more to say, and does it have anything more to say to me, right? Because as I started to experiment more with layering, it became very clear when certain sections had more of a story to tell, right? That it could say much more. Like, we hate getting cut off in conversations, right? Like, I wasn't done talking, don't do that, right? I'm not gonna do that to my own work. So it will tell me when it's done, more than I know if it is done, like myself. Like there's a painting, Like, you see how long it takes me for me to finish my work, bro. Like, sometimes it just takes me returning to that piece when it is ready to articulate what it is it needs to say, and for me to actually receive that. So yeah.
Work. I like that.
Thank you. Woo. Okay, anybody else?
Claps.
Anybody else? Yes.
Hi, my name is Rodney. I love your jeans.
Thank you.
I love your pants.
Appreciate it.
Jeans, yeah. It's gonna be a little long-winded, but I'm gonna try to be concise as much as possible.
Okay.
So a friend of mine sent me a video yesterday of Michael Jackson and Prince, right? Basically, it's a video essay how they were competing with each other. And I don't remember verbatim, but Michael Jackson was like, "I have to execute my vision right away, or Prince will take it." And so I went down the rabbit hole, and I'm not even a Christian, but there was a verse that came to me, and it was Matthew 14, and it's about the three servants in the parable.
Yes, the parable of talents.
So
yes.
For anyone who doesn't know, basically, and I was reading about it, and I was talking about it at my job today. So a master goes away to go to a long trip and leaves three servants behind. He leaves them some money, different amounts. And when he comes back, he asks each one of them, what did they do with the money? Two of them doubled the money, so he gave them some more. The other one, because he was afraid and felt like the master was harsh, buried it under. And the master is upset, and he's just like, well, you're lazy and you're this and that. But it's tied into how I feel about, or the conversation about talents. Do you feel if you don't execute a vision because of imposter syndrome, because of fear, comparison, and all of that? And I'm sure all of us could relate to that. But what I'm basically saying, do you feel like if you don't execute your vision, do you feel like God will give it to someone else? Or the universe will give it to someone else? And what would you say to, a musician or an artist or whomever who's just like, oh, my best work isn't in me right now? Making all these excuses as if, they have the time in the world. Because I had a friend who told me, and he's a great musician, but he told me he didn't feel the need to release all his music now because his best work is still waiting to come. And I took it as, you're probably just afraid and scared, but I didn't want to
burst his bubble.
Because he is a friend and he really believes that truth. But in actuality, and I have felt that way too, where we make all these excuses in the world, but we don't paint, we don't make that music, we don't release the music. And I get it, the world is harsh and all of that. I couldn't help but bring that up to you, because when you spoke about your best work and when you're finished and everything and your creative process, how do you personally feel when it comes to dealing with imposter syndrome and waiting and making all these excuses as to why you won't release your project?
That's a great question. Thank you for that. When it comes to imposter, we have multiple things to engage with within that question. So first, with the parable of talents, I do feel like if I don't do this, then somebody else will. And then it becomes a question of why not me, right? What does somebody else have that I don't have? And even if they got something I don't got it that I don't have, screw that, right? Like, I can do whatever I want if I believe that it is within my grasp, if it's an actual possibility, right? So we are really dominated by our perceptions of ourselves, which ties into imposter syndrome. I stopped feeling like an imposter when I got into a museum. This piece got into Coral Springs Museum, and I'm like, maybe I'm not a fraud, right? And that's nuts that it would take something that big, something of that scale to come in. And what helps with that is actually believing people's compliments about yourself. No one is over here trying to flatter you and say something nice for the sake of it. Nobody has the time or energy for that. So when someone goes out of their way to say, hey, you make good stuff, believe them. So that's one. Two, we have to get over that fear. We have a fear of being perceived, more so a fear of being perceived as failures, as being mid, right? Like, everyone's afraid of being mid at something. But at the same time, what is really at stake here? Because it is much better for me to try and fail to have never tried at all. So to your friend who's like, oh, I don't want to release nothing because my best work is to come. Why not allow people to come to their own conclusions, right? because like, yeah, my work is still yet to come. I could have kept all this work to myself and I would have never gotten any of these opportunities, right? And it's much better to allow viewers to see a gradual growth, to allow them to evolve with you, because like, we got to see where we came from, okay? Like, we all started from somewhere, and to deny anybody the right to see that part of you from the start, like, when is it ever going to be acceptable for them to see you? Like, what defines when you're ready to accept yourself? What defines when you're ready to stop feeling like an imposter? Because it's like, anytime I say something self-doubting or self-deprecating, like, my friends literally almost assault me. Like they're like, what the heck are you talking about? You better stop that right now. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Because we are at odds with our minds, like, constantly. We can be our own best friend or our own worst enemies, right? What do you choose? Will you be such a connoisseur, so like be dominated by your high expectations of yourself, or are you gonna admit that you are a human who is trying and is developing and is evolving in real time, and you have to appreciate this current version of yourself? Because if you can't appreciate the current version of yourself, you're gonna be the future version of yourself, still looking at things the same way as your current version.
It's well said.
Yes, acceptance. Accept yourself. Wherever you're at, whoever you are, just be okay with it. So that's what I'd say. Awesome.
Anybody else?
Anybody?
Yeah, so
Yes.
where'd you get this concept in your mind about the squiggles?
Yes. So thankfully, this is a time where I can talk about it. So I call these shapes UZUMAKI, right?
I'm sorry, what is
UZUMAKI,
it?
right? It is the Japanese word for spiral. And I found, okay, so realistically, man, like, all right, so I started painting after the pandemic, and I had this style that was very modular. If you've been following me for a long time, you know that I would make these shapes and then I would just fill in the circles. But I realized I was making myself color within the lines, and it frustrated me because I had an innate desire for freedom. And I remembered when I was in 6th grade in reading class, full of undiagnosed ADHD, I would escape within the margins of my homework and just draw these shapes, draw these patterns. And they helped me ground myself, right? So after I got frustrated with my own lack of freedom within my own work, I decided I was gonna take a risk. I needed to try something new. And I remembered that I used to do this, but I also knew that I was approaching color in a different way. So I'm like, why don't I combine my inner child with who I currently am? And that's important because we have to acknowledge our inner child. We have to acknowledge the kid that we were. I used to hold a lot of vitriol against him because I wanted him to be better. I wanted him to be better, but he was a kid and he did the best he could, and so much was out of his control, and that is okay. So to honor him and to honor my journey, I started to mix my understanding of color with these UZUMAKI spirals. And that is the first one that I made right there. And that was an experiment. I didn't think that this would end up being my signature style. But I had to take that risk, and I had to allow people to receive it how they will. And because I took that risk, I am here now. Isn't that beautiful? I may never sell that piece. I don't know. I might keep it for myself forever.
Had one more in the corner, Symphony.
Hi, Symphony. Hey.
Okay, since you got the grant, what are you gonna do with it? That's
Oh,
what
thank
I
you.
wanted to ask.
What am I gonna do with it? For one, this, right? I'm doing this artist talk with Broward County's money. And I think it's going pretty well, right? I also want to, as I said before, plant seeds, right? Like, this is my harvest season, but every fruit has seeds within them. So I'm going to actually be an organized person and plan things out, such as upgrade my website and start to make merch. Yeah, let's go, right? because my excuse for not making merch is the fact that I didn't have the money to invest in it. That's no longer an issue, right? So I could have just threw myself a big old birthday bash up in here. Like, I could have went nuts. Or I could use my money intelligently, because it's like, we work to make money, but then we got to make that money work for us. And I'm very new to that concept, because this is the most money I ever had. You feel me? I'm not gonna do that. The check's still coming in the mail, yo. But the thing is, like, I'm a big believer that God only blesses us what we have the capacity for, right? So if I am trying to become a millionaire, but I ain't got no type of financial literacy, why would God bless me to become a millionaire? To watch me fold it, right? So now that I am a cognizant enough human being to be able to manage this type of money, God gave this to me for me to be able to set myself up for the future, so I don't need $5,000 to fall into my lap every couple of months. So merch is coming, prints are coming, and because you guys love my pattern so much, I am trying to get into fabric. I am trying to get into garments. I am trying to take that leap, okay? So pray for me, please. Because it's new to me. But just like how that was an experiment, you never know where your experiments can take you. So you gotta go for it and take that risk. Yes.
Have you sold any of this current collection?
Absolutely, I have. God bless.
Anything in the room now?
Yes. So that piece right next to you, Play, was bought by my good friend Marvin, who is in the building. Marvin, woo! Big flex, right? Also, my boy Pharaoh Sadiq Graham. Yeah! You know him, yeah. And this piece right here was bought by Francie Bishop Good, who is a big art collector in Fort Lauderdale. So, like, oh my goodness. That's crazy. Because I did not expect to sell nothing. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I was just ready to just show my work, have this awesome moment, and then she buys it within the first moments of being here. And the fact that I'm in like a big art collector's collection now, which means I can put my prices up. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Like, I don't even fully understand like the ramifications of what just happened, and I'm just happy to be here. Yeah, God is good. Long story short. So I did sell, you feel me? Your boy came up a little bit, right? And I'm just looking forward to seeing what else God has in store for me, because like I stopped letting it be my plan, right? Because I'm a flawed human being with flawed logic. But once I allowed it to be his plan, and I know that he doesn't lose, I find a lot more peace in the uncertainty of my day-to-day, right? Because I don't know what's next. I don't know what's on the other side. But if I have someone on my side who cannot fail, why not let him drive the boat? Okay? So I'm finding a lot of peace in that, of just letting go of control. And that's what a lot of it boils down to. Like, yes, we should be responsible enough to have control of ourselves and our finances and our but like, what are you willing to let go of control of? Because the things that we refuse to let control of actually are our idols. And if we idolize things without realizing them, it starts to dominate us subconsciously, and then we don't realize why we are sad. We don't realize why we are frustrated. So even in the fact that I'm getting more money right now, like, I also know that like I am just a simple instrument in an orchestra, and everything going on is so much bigger than me. And an instrument is only as good as the master who's holding it. So I just allow the gifts to pour down onto me and out onto others. And that's how I maintain my sense of self, but also my sense of humility as well.
Amen.
Yeah, all right. Cool. Okay, I think that's a cool point to end it, but does anybody else have a question?
No.
Okay, well, cool. Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for coming. Thank you guys so much, for real. So, again, like, thank you for coming to UZUMAKI. It feels like everything in my life has been leading up to this moment, and I'm just very grateful for what God has blessed me with. And that includes you all. And that includes all of your good grace, all of your favor, all of your kindness, because we're not even living in a world where that's promised to us. And you guys decided to give that to me, and I'm very grateful for it. And I will be grateful for as long as I am living, and even after I'm done living. And thank you guys for believing in me. because I didn't expect to get this far. And I know that we have so much farther to go. And I'm just taking one day at a time. So pray for me, I'll pray for y'all. But we gonna be good. We gonna be good. Yeah. Thank you guys. So yeah, thank you so much to Broward County Cultural Division. Thank you to Burgundy XYZ. Thank you to NSU Art Museum. Thank you to every single person on this earth still breathing, because that means we have another opportunity to just be better.
That's facts.
Okay, so
That's
y'all
facts.
just go out there, be as intentional as you can be. Let the words we talked about just resonate and influence the next. So yeah, God bless y'all, for real. Thank you. Yeah.
Congratulations again, brother.
Yeah, we did that.
Proud of you, brother.
Thank you, bro. You did great.
You did great. Thank you for the time.
Of course.
I appreciate you,
Bro,
bro.
I knew I could trust
Great.
y'all.
This is great. You know we're gonna come through for
Of
you all the
course,
time.
bro. I knew I could trust
All
y'all.
the time, bro. All the
Easily.
time.
Oh, man.
You could be a preacher.